Hello, hello. What's up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King MB, and I am back to continue talking about Dexter, seasons 5 through 8. Now, where we last left off, Dexter's wife, Rita, was brutally murdered in the finale of season 4. This devastated me, and I was hoping that this would also devastate Dexter. But you see in episode 1 of season 5 that Dexter isn't, I wouldn't say emotional. He's more just numb. He's more just non-emotional, or he's not showing his emotion. He's not showing that this death, this huge major death, is affecting him. And look, I get that Dexter. That's the selling point on him as a character, is that he doesn't connect to his human emotions, that he doesn't know how to show how he's feeling. And I get that. I do. There is a part of this character that it makes sense that this would be his reaction. But I just feel like he had progressed so much as a character, as a human being. He has just become more in tune with how to connect with his feelings. We went through this whole emotional arc of Rita threatening to leave him for not being honest, and he admitted to himself inward that he couldn't lose Rita, that he couldn't lose the kids, that he didn't want to lose them. And he made it clear how important it was to keep this family in his life. So to lose Rita the way that he does, I was expecting and I was hoping for more of a visceral, angry reaction or sad reaction. And I didn't really get that. Most of the episode, he's just non responsive, just very distant and hard to read. It even makes some people, like Quinn, wonder about him and wonder if maybe he had something to do with the death of his wife. Also, poor Rita. You know, we get flashbacks in this first episode where you see the first date of Dexter and Rita, and you see that Dexter wasn't even there to date her initially. He went to this date really just to stake out another person that he wanted to kill. Poor Rita was kind of there just to be there. She ended up calling him back, thinking she did something wrong, and that's how they start dating. It just, if I didn't already feel like crap over the fact that this poor woman is dead, well, this episode sure did a good job of doing that. Aster and Cody, speaking of feeling insanely bad for some characters, you see them leave to go live with their grandparents because Aster, especially, is so effed up. She's so uh, distraught over losing. Not only, think about it, they've lost their father in jail at the beginning of season 2. Now they've lost their mother, and she doesn't want to stay with Dexter. She blames him, and I guess rightfully so. Lumen is a new character introduced in season 5. She's played by Julia Stiles. She is somebody who was kidnapped by a person, and Dexter ended up killing this person. But unbeknownst to Dexter, he did not know that she would witness him killing this guy. And it makes him actually have to hold her captive for a little bit, not knowing if he can trust to let her out and say what he's done. And eventually, they come to an understanding where she realizes that he did, in fact, save her. That there are this group of guys who are going around kidnapping women, raping them, videotaping it, killing them. She survived. There's 12 other women who are dead in barrels, dumped in a pond, and so the two of them, Lumen and Dexter, end up becoming like a tag team where they go after this group. They're killing them one by one for revenge, and that eventually brings the two together. Dexter ends up dating Lumen. And I like Julia Stiles. I do. I like her as an actress. I think this was very different for her, especially at the time. Sure, she was like the teen actress and those romantic comedy type movies. And so seeing her play this much of a damaged character who was willing to get revenge, who was willing to kill was willing to learn from Dexter how to do all of that. That was very interesting. And I think she did a great job. And if it wasn't for her not being a good actress, if it wasn't for her not being as likable as she was, maybe this wouldn't have worked as well as it did because I was not ready. I was not prepared to see Dexter start to date. Jordan Chase ends up being the leader of this group. He's like this motivational speaker, and so maybe not one of the better main villains of the Dexter show, but I guess it sufficed. It did what it had to do. After killing everybody that they had to kill, Lumen ends up leaving Dexter, and this annoyed the hell out of me. Dexter did all that he did for this woman. He killed for her. He covered up for her. He protected her. He did everything that one could do for a woman, and she just decided after they're done, after they kill everybody, she says, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go back to my normal life, I guess. See you, Dexter. Bye." Now, look, even Julia Stiles has commented and talked about how she didn't like the way that Lumen left. That wasn't her decision. So we have the showrunner to blame. We have the writers to blame for that. I initially thought maybe Julia Stiles was only there for one season and didn't want to come back. But no, they just didn't know what else to do with this damn character. So what a waste. Season 6, we see Travis Marshall, played by Colin Hanks, and Professor Geller, played by Edward James Olmos. And the two of them are religious nuts in a sense. They're killing people and connecting it to the Bible, the four horsemen. Uh, they're fulfilling these prophecies that they think God wants them to do. They're called the Doomsday Killers. They think the apocalypse is going to come to the world. Because I'll be honest, the Doomsday Killers, they weren't really engaging me. They weren't really gripping me for the first half or so of the season. It just was very standard, very paint by numbers, and it nothing all that interesting was going on for the most part until we get to a twist where we find out that the professor has been dead from the beginning. The professor wasn't even a part of these killings. Travis is the real killer. Travis was envisioning himself like Tyler Durden. He was envisioning that Geller was forcing him to do this, making him kill people when it seemed like he didn't want to. It seemed like he was a victim. It seemed like he didn't want to become evil. And that instantly turned me around. That made me become a lot more intrigued with this villain, seeing everything that he could do, pull off, and I thought Colin Hanks showed a lot of range. At the very end of the season, though, we see Dexter kill Travis, and you see probably the biggest cliffhanger of the whole series. Deb finally catches Dexter in the act in killing Travis. And so that cliffhanger has you shocked. That cliffhanger has you hanging off the edge of your seat. I would have been more shocked, honestly, if I hadn't been spoiled on this. I was spoiled on this. I they did show a commercial on the DVD as I'm binge watching this that showed that moment. So yeah, I knew it was coming, and yeah, that super ultra mega sucks, but still doesn't change how pretty great that moment itself was. So the beginning of season 7, you see that Deborah helps Dexter. She is very reluctant at first. She doesn't know what to do. Her first instinct is to help him and protect him. But she finds out the truth. She finds out that he's a serial killer. She finds out that he has been doing this for a long time. He tried to hide it. He even tried to lie about it as she was finding out all of the stuff. He was trying to cover his tracks. It just wasn't working. And she's fully in now. Now she's the lieutenant. She's at a different level of the police department. She does not want Dexter to do this. In fact, there's moments where she almost treats this like a drug and that maybe she can save him, as if he's gonna maybe she moves him into her house and she wants to stop him and keep him from killing. All this was great. All this I was very into. But the show did something completely out of left field for me. They introduced this initially in season 6, and they followed through a little bit more of it in season 7, where Deborah, I guess through the help of her therapist, realizes that she's in love with Dexter. What the fuck? This is Dexter's sister. I know they're adopted. I know it's stepbrother sister, right? Or it's adopted brother sister. So it's not by blood. I get that. But they grew up together. They were raised together. They think of each other as brother and sister. They call each other brother and sister. I don't understand why in the blue hell did the showrunners, did Scott Buck, who came on to the show for the last half of the series. He wasn't in the first half. You can tell when he showed up that this show ended up doing a lot of weird and messed up things towards this end part. And Deborah falling in love with Dexter was definitely one of them. In fact, I hated this. I hated it. I still hate it. I don't get it. I don't like it. Ultimately, really, at the end of the day, amounted to nothing. We didn't need it. It was unneeded, unnecessary. I don't like that we went there. It felt like Scott Buck read some fan fiction. Saw a couple of fans who wanted to see Dexter and Deb end up together, which is so bizarre and weird, and I never will never understand it. So he decided to introduce it, maybe just to see what people thought. Ray Stevenson plays Isaac. He's one of the main villains in season 7. I actually really liked Ray Stevenson, and I liked him as his character because he is this like mafia hitman. He's actually a part of this like mob family, and Dexter ends up killing somebody very close to him, and he will stop at nothing to get revenge on Dexter. And that was fascinating because it was finally somebody that seemed like Dexter had met his match, and that he couldn't just outsmart him, he couldn't just get him killed, he couldn't kill him himself. This guy was a pro. He was a few steps ahead of him. Get this other character, Lewis. Lewis is somebody who becomes an intern for the station. He also works on video games, and he tries to get Dexter's advice or get his opinion on these games about serial killers. And Dexter doesn't like the game, thinks it's insensitive, kind of tells him off. And this pisses Lewis off. This makes Lewis kind of make it his new goal to make Dexter's life a living hell. He does a few things that does get under Dexter's skin. You think that Dexter's going to have to kill this guy or do something. You also wonder why Lewis has this fascination with Dexter. Is there something that he knows, or does he somehow know that Dexter's a killer? You're wondering, until Lewis just ends up getting killed by Ray Stevenson. So you think, okay, well, was all of that really needed or necessary? That was just sort of a little random. Hannah McKay gets introduced also in season 7. She killed a few people early on as a teenager because she was dating this serial killer. Come to find out, though, that she did take some of that killing thirst along with her. Dexter immediately realizes it. He is supposed to go after her, supposed to kill her, but let's be honest, because she's a hot blonde, he doesn't kill her. He has sex with her on the table, and then they become a couple. And look, I get it. Hannah was very attractive. She was very beautiful, and so I guess at first glance you can understand, but you don't get any real other reason why Dexter had this connection to her or felt so strongly with her the way that he did. It it was confusing because usually Dexter has this code. She had killed people. She was lying about it. It is what it is. It's very black and white, especially with Dexter. He's hardly ever conflicted when it comes to killing people who meets his code. I get that she's hot, but there had to be a little bit more than that. We see Dexter say, "I love you," for the first time to Hannah, which is something that poor Rita never got. Not once. When Deborah doesn't trust her, she thinks that Hannah has killed. Of course, Deborah's right. Hannah is willing to do anything to get her out of her way. So she tries to kill Deborah. She tries to poison her. And this forces Dexter to turn her in and Hannah goes to jail. Of course, she escapes, though. That's the very end of the season. This was a very big, huge thing in season 7. LaGuerta finds a blood capsule at the crime scene of Travis, which is something that originally was supposed to be linked to Dokes. Dexter was able to link Dokes as the Bay Harbor Butcher. So the blood capsules were supposed to go along with that, and that alone. So now LaGuerta is suspicious that maybe somebody else is the butcher, that somebody else is still out there. And she gets closer and closer. She eventually comes on to the idea that it's Dexter. And we get a stalemate. We get LaGuerta going after Dexter. She catches him in the act, has him basically at gunpoint. Deborah, who knows about this, knows that LaGuerta is on Dexter's case and she's trying to protect him. She goes to the crime scene too, and she sees the two of them. She sees that Dexter is about to kill LaGuerta. What she does is she kills LaGuerta. Deborah makes the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate sin in a lot of ways, and she kills LaGuerta. This was something that was shocking. We go to the final season of Dexter, season 8. You see that Deb is very upset and very angry at Dexter because she blames him for her having to kill LaGuerta the way that she did. She's no longer the lieutenant. She quit. She's now a private eye. You see her on this case with this guy, and at first it looks like Deborah's just off, like doing coke and doing drugs and not giving a fuck. And I was very against that, not liking that, because it made Deborah look dirty, and I just thought her as a character was better than that. I just didn't like seeing Deb be that angry at Dexter. We get introduced to a new character, Dr. Vogel. Find out that she ended up helping Harry create the code that shaped Dexter's life. So she instantly became a fascinating character. Because at first I thought, okay, here's another woman who's gonna try to pursue him or whatnot, and we've been there, done that. To get this new angle of this woman who really was a part of it from the beginning. He will come to look at her as a somewhat mother figure because she created what he is today. You get a lot of moments of her and Harry going back and forth. It actually humanizes Harry a lot more when you see how much against he was with Dexter becoming a killer, how he tried to make it work, he tried to do it. Vogel wants a lot from Dexter. She has her own kind of serial killer experiments going on. She wants Dexter to help train a new protege named Zach. And at first, I was rolling my eyes because I felt like, well, we've seen Dexter try to train people before, and that always goes horribly wrong. But this Zach person I started to warm up to him. Of course, right when I started to like him, he gets killed, and so that sucked. That sucked big time. Now, when I say he got killed, you find out that there is a serial killer who's going around cutting people's brains off. He's doing this as a taunt to Dr. Vogel. Long story short, we find out that it is her son, her long lost son, that she thought was dead. But of course, he was still out there. She was able to help Deb and Dexter get back together, get close again, become brother and sister. Hannah makes her triumphant return. It's been a while. It's been like what, episode 6 or 7 until we finally saw Hannah again. At first I was wondering, are we really not going to address the fact that Hannah broke out of jail and is out there? But no, she does come back. She is married to a brand new guy, which rubs Dexter the wrong way because of course he's still in love with her, and she's very much still in love with him. She doesn't really hold it against him that he tried to get her locked up or that he turned on her. She understands. A lot of people would say, before I even saw this season, this last season, season 8, a lot of people would say that this last season of Dexter sucked, and that it was horrible, and that it was terrible, and that it's the worst last season of a show ever. And look, there were some things, these last couple seasons, there were some things that I didn't like, that I didn't love. And sure, the last half wasn't nearly as strong as the first half, but still, I was into it. Still, I was intrigued. Still, I was fascinated by everything going on. Dexter trying to keep Hannah safe, trying to keep her hidden, trying to keep her protected. You get this marshal coming in, trying to look for her, and maybe coming on to Dexter because Dexter is trying to figure out how him and Hannah and Harrison can run away together. Go to Argentina, go to a different country, get out of town. Dexter's losing the umph to want to kill people because he's so much in love with her. And this is something that I thought, hey, why not? Maybe some people didn't like it. Maybe some people hated the idea that he was losing that itch to kill, that him finding love was what he needed all along. I guess true love. And as much as I was a little iffy on him being in love with Hannah in season 7 because it was so quick and it was so new, by season 8 I started to buy it a little more. I guess I don't know if it was the chemistry or me just getting used to Hannah, the actress, a lot more. But season 8, I bought the idea of her being maybe sort of his soulmate. This is where shit hits the fan. This is the end. This is the end. This is how the show comes to a close. Because Dexter doesn't kill Vogel's son, Oliver, the way that he's supposed to, the way that he normally would have. Because he wants to be with Hannah, he doesn't kill this guy. He leaves him at this abandoned place for Deb to arrest properly because Deborah is now back as a detective. And when she goes there, the guy breaks out and shoots Deborah. And this is where I start to say fuck you to this end of the show. Because Deborah, she doesn't die, but she basically falls into a coma like state, and the doctor says that she'll have brain damage. That they can hook her up to this machine and she can breathe, but she won't be conscious. She'll be a vegetable. She won't really be there, and that Dexter has to make a choice. Dexter decides to kill Deborah, to put her out of her misery, to end her suffering, to end her pain. And so that's what he does. And this sucked. This sucked so goddamn hard. Deborah was one of my favorite characters on the show. Sure, she didn't always make the right decisions. Sure, she did some things that made you scratch your head and get frustrated. But overall, she meant well. She was a flawed character who always had more good in her than a lot of other characters on this show. All she wanted to do was be accepted. She wanted to be accepted by her dad and never got it. She wanted to be let in and accepted by Dexter, and she almost got it, but she probably never fully felt like she was 100% in. It's really this last episode where everything goes to shit because, in my opinion, you could have had everything go down the same exact way throughout the season. You could have everything, nothing change at all. If you just had Deborah survive, if you just had her continue to be a cop, if you had Dexter be able to leave town, be with Hannah and Harrison, like how they wanted. Sure, this show was very dark and very depressing at times and very sad at times. I don't think that the finale and that the ending should have had that similar sad, dark tone. I don't think it needed it. I don't think that you had to go that route. I think we could have had a somewhat happy ending, at least a happy ending for a character that we followed for 8 years. It's just Deborah dying sucked, and Dexter feeling so guilty over her death, feeling like he doesn't deserve happiness, feeling like he doesn't want to bring any more grief to people he loves. He fakes his own death and he makes it seem like he dies in the storm out on his boat in the water, so everybody presumes him to be dead. You see that he's now off on his own as a lumberjack. I guess he's chopping down wood. He has a beard. He goes into his house and he's self isolating himself from the world because what the hell else is he supposed to do? I guess he's going to live out the rest of his life like this. What the fuck? Seriously? This is the great series finale, a show that went on for 8 years, a show that was as popular as it was, a show that had such great hype surrounding it. Man, this ending sucked. This ending sucked hard. I'm not going to say that the whole season was bad. I'm not going to say that the whole series, the show in itself, is not worth checking out and watching just because of one episode, but I really do feel like this one episode fucked a lot of things up. Very lackluster and very dull. So, guys, let me know in the comments below what you think of not only Dexter as a whole, the entire series. Do you still love the show? Is it satisfying? Do you think it stuck the landing? Do you like the ending? Do you like the finale? Do you think I'm exaggerating, or are you one of the many people, the majority, who hated how this show went out? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!